Hey guys, all right. I'm gearing up for a shoot tomorrow for Trans Am Worldwide. That's one of my regular clients. And I thought, what would make a really important video? A video about how to do solo productions, because that is what I've been doing for 20 years now. 95% of what I have accomplished that you'd see on my website, if you do check it out, of my professional work, I've done by myself. I do bring on additional people here and there, but most of it I pull off by myself. And so I want to give you the 5 tips that I've kind of distilled down as being the most useful that I've developed over the years to make sure that get done, or that I have, to pull off productions that feel like this.
You can't mount it to the fender because it bounces. You know, it's on the suspension. So, you know, you could easily come up with a bracket, kind of like a luggage tray for a Harley, the way they slip in and then attach, and then you can float.
Can you do that with cutting a fender this high, cutting it on the
Oh
hard?
yeah, for sure. We'll just, where they have this bracket, you can see the welds.
Even when you're just a single person.
In a world where nuclear war has begun, vampires fought back in super real 3D.
All right, so before I explain the 5 tips, let me first help you figure out, do you need additional people for your shoot or not? And the first question is it a live event type situation? Because if it's something where you can't have people do multiple takes and you really want to have multiple angles so you can actually have an edit, in most live event situations, I just recommend you do want additional shooters to help you pull it off. Another situation where I wouldn't recommend doing it by yourself is, let's say that you are doing some kind of promotional or product video for a company and you're working on a very small window of time. Like, you don't have the ability to control or dictate what the timeline is of the day. You're gonna kind of have to just go with what they say is available to film at the time. And we've only got a short time to do it because everybody's got to be out of the facility at 4 p.m. and you've got 5 hours to pull all this off. If it's a time crunch thing, I'd recommend having additional crew, additional camera people there for that as well. Now, if it is a situation where you can control and dictate the timeline, you can recommend to the client how the day should generally flow. We want to do interviews at this portion of the day. We need access to this room for the B-roll section of this. We're gonna film yada yada. I always recommend trying to give a little bit of wiggle room to your schedule, because sometimes things are amazing and you didn't expect it to be this good, and you know it's gonna be a huge part of your video. You wanna have that flexibility that you can film a little bit longer in those windows. Do you have the ability to extend it to a second day of filming should you want to? All of which could still come out as more money in your pocket, but not cost the client as much as having a full crew on, so they're on board for this approach. It's quite a massive undertaking. And sometimes I'm literally running 4 cameras, 5 sound sources, plus having lit it, plus directing it and interviewing some, but I really wanted to keep the interviews to a minimum for this style.
Here's a before picture of your bike, obviously, the original Scout Bobber, the second version of the Scout from India.
This shape of this is very similar to the inner door panel. And
Actually,
so
very
what I'm
similar.
thinking about doing is basically duplicating what we're doing on the inner door panel with our bird.
I like it.
So let's just say that it is the situation where you can dictate and you want to do this by yourself. These are the 5 tips that I recommend. Number 1, pre-rig as much as you can. Anything that can be pre-rigged, you should just do it. Now, I know this puts your gear in more of a dangerous state, but if you're the one that's in control of travel and you're the one loading in and out and it's all your gear, treat it like a baby, you know, treat it like it's glass. So I pre-rig all of my stuff. The only thing that would come in the way is like raining and stuff. You're gonna have to load in and out. That can be a bit of an issue. Check on the weather for that, but in general, I'm in Florida. It does rain a lot, but it's always in pockets. I can kind of time it on the pocket. I can take in other stuff and bring the cameras in last, but cameras are something that I pre-rig, ready to go and set up. Soft boxes is a big one. Soft boxes can take a while if they're not the kind that just fold out and they're immediately ready.
So this can just open up quickly, so that's not a big deal. That can just live like that.
A lot of soft boxes are not that. I have a van. That's the type of vehicle that I've chosen, just a minivan. It's nothing fancy at all. It's just a basic van where the seats can fold in, so it does give me good room. And I actually prep 2 to 3 soft boxes, and those go in last because I don't want them under anything, but they're pre-built, so I don't have to do that on set. Now, just building your cameras and building your soft boxes on set by themselves, I mean, that can tie up a good 30 minutes, you know, depending on what your setup is. So you're shaving that time off of the shoot day. That's a big help. So pre-rig anything that you feel that you can. If you have a Steadicam system, have it set up. Don't build it on set. I mean, it is good to build it on set if you have the time. But if you're trying to be efficient, pre-build it, have it ready, and I actually use my sandbags to weight down all my stuff and kind of hold things that are pre-rigged in place, not the soft boxes because they just go on top. Of my cameras, they don't fall over, my Steadicam stuff doesn't fall over because I just kind of wedge everything together and put them between two sandbags or put sandbags on the stand that's holding the Steadicam. So pre-rig as much as you can. Tip number 2, buy a wagon or 2. Depends on how much gear you have, but a wagon has actually been one of the best things I've ever purchased for my kit.
When I'm loading in, I'd put more stuff in here, but I got the boom arms here, and then I got 4 C-stands that usually will cover. And if I'm gonna do more than that, I can go back and do loads, but this is like a moving, ready to go light cart. Plus I can put the tripod on, plus you could throw on, you know, here's an example. There's like one set of lights, I can put another light here, and I can essentially put another light there. So I've got roughly 3 lights on me. Then I throw in a couple of extension cords. I can slip in at the bottom. I got my sandbags under here. And all this is mobile, so I can just take it away as I need to.
The kind that I buy are not super huge footprint. They fold up and collapse, which is really good for being able to pack in the vehicle and then unpack whenever I get there.
But this is a $39 softbox with the speed ring. And it's awesome. So if I burn through one over the course of 10 shoots or something, I think I got my money worth, and I can kind of just get another one. And the amount of time that I save for the rate, if compared to what I charge per hour, it just makes sense to have this guy's preset so I don't have to worry about it.
Some of these can hold like a couple 100 pounds. So I mean, it's not gonna be an issue for the weight in most cases. Now, I've recently upgraded to having 2 wagons, one dedicated just for stands. That way I can just cart that thing around once I get to a shoot.
Almost done loading in. I'm building my data station so I can offload data. And I am going to set up my battery charging station, build my lights, and then I'll be ready to go. Plus, get my wagon. My other wagon.
Wagon number 1, the Prima wagon, the way that I have been doing it is that wagon is got all your good stuff in it, man. It's got your lenses, it's got your batteries, it's got your recording media, and I recommend having a second case of some kind for your recording media once it's filled up. You have it separated, you have your clean data, and you got your case that's keeping all your priceless footage.
This is for dead batteries. There's all my batteries of different kinds. I've got my, when I have data that's full, goes in there. Here's my clean cards. Got all my zoom lenses in here, and I got my prime sitting under there.
It can also carry your camera or 2 cameras. It just depends on what you need for the shoot, but those wagons, those things can carry more than any single person that you hire can carry, right?
Couple of lights in here, softbox, stands, sandbags, gaff tape, and then lenses, batteries, sound. I mean, I got a little sound here. I got my boom pole with the mic here, but then I got the Zoom F6 there and another little audio recorder.
Use them more when you're first loading in to just get more stuff in, and then you do have your station point of where you can keep the majority of your stuff inside whatever facility or place that you're filming at. But once you're ready in shoot mode, these 2 wagons or wagon, it stays rigged up. I mean, it can just pull it over with you wherever you go to certain parts of a facility or at the shoot. And it's just so handy rather than trying to carry your lens bag on you and then carry the thing that has your batteries and then you got your camera. Just have a wagon. It's awesome. If you have steps involved, yeah, that can be an issue. Get it all up there and then fill the wagon back up. If you're gonna be living upstairs for the production, you still wanna have this wagon that you can just tote around from room to room or leave on the outside of the room, and then all you gotta do is walk out the doorway and then grab your thing and throw it on. It's amazing. And it's a little bit of an investment, but how much are you paying an additional crew person per day that you're filming? This is a one-time purchase of $100 to $200 per wagon. It saves you so much time, and it does make your shoot tremendously more efficient. Tip number 3 goes into the hardest thing that I think there is to do when you're trying to film by yourself, which is sound. Sound has been the most challenging thing to pull off as a single person, because what's ideal is to have somebody with a boom pole that's operating and moving with the person, and like, that's amazing. So what are my solutions for that? Well, I invested in a standing boom, which I wanted for interviews anyway. Standing boom is just a boom pole that actually goes on a stand, and actually I'm using one right now. Maybe I'll try to get a shot. But it has you can get one like $150, and it extends very far. This is just a great thing to have for all your interview setups anyway, but you can use that as a general room mic, all right? So you'd extend that out. Then you've also got your mic on your camera. So if you come in close, that is still gonna be quality audio, but if you're far away, you got your room mic going, and then you also want to lav mic.
When did we start using guns? It's like.
Why don't you say that in the middle?
We gotta steal it.
We need to call Brett.
No, there's no time. We have to go now.
When did we start using guns? We're not ready.
Now, these are a lot of different sound sources. Yes, this is an investment. Are these things that you would want to have anyway? Yes.
So I got extra mics in here. I got my XLR cables. I've got lav mic bags. I've actually separated everything with Ziploc bags inside. I've got my battery case in here. Got little attachments so that way I can mount it if I need to in different ways, and all kinds of other little goodies. But everything audio related, tape, different Ryocoat stickies, different ways of putting the lav mics on. So just audio, everything audio.
Hiring a sound person for the day can be anywhere from $500 to $800 in most cases for the day. It's like hiring a sound operator for a couple of days, but you own the equipment.
And then you can put a beauty plate, a block plate or a beauty plate in there. And then when you have your seat on here, what you're gonna find is that beauty plate will fit perfectly underneath your seat, so it'll take in all that space.
Which is expanding the capabilities of your production company, and you can do it in any situation. You don't have to make sure that somebody's available in order to pull off the shoot. I mean, you end up in situations where you have to film by yourself, guys. It just happens. You can either miss the shoot or get it. Owning your own sound equipment, it's extremely empowering, okay? So now think about it. If you have a couple of lav mics on your talent, if they need to move around through the space, you're being covered that way. If you're in close, you've got your on-camera mic, and then you have this stable mic that's just like a room mic that you've set up on a boom stand. So you have 3 sound sources happening. You can cover a lot that way.
And we've added a larger metallic to it. It is so rich. It's kind of a little more coppery, but we're using the original color on the wheels. So we're going to powder coat the wheels original color. So that the color DNA stays in the new car throughout the entire theme.
I love this gold.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when it gets outside, you're going to see a whole different.
Yes, for sure.
Dance.
It's gonna pop. It'll dance in the sunlight.
Especially with the red trim. It looks amazing. Dude, this really looks good.
Doesn't it?
Looks awesome.
So roughly, we've got 6 weeks. Right now, we're in T-top rough-in.
Now, I'm not saying it's perfect, but you can do so much with it. And if you know that the situation is going to be more elaborate than that, then that dictates to you that you need to go ahead and hire a sound person, all right? So that is what it is. All right, tip number 4 is you do want to have 2 cameras and 2 tripods. Now, I know you can pull off a shoot as a single camera. You absolutely can. But if you're filming by yourself, you're doubling up on your footage, especially with everything being filmed in 4K or more now. Hopefully you're doing that, and you should, especially if you're filming by yourself, because you want to be able to have 2 shots out of 1 shot, be able to crop in on things.
I'll be running 3 different cameras throughout the day, the Sony, the Red, and the Canon, which is up here. And actually you can see I've already set up my battery station here. I've got my data offloading here, but I still need to run power to all this.
When you have 2 cameras going, you set up one on a tripod that's a wide shot, and then you've also got the camera that you're operating. You know, that one over there on the wide shot of the room is just your unmanned shot, but it's in 4K. You'll be able to crop in if you need to. Ideally, it can be helpful to have an auto lens on that if people are moving through the shot, but you know, it just depends on what you have. And then on the one that you're operating, maybe you're filming with a long lens on that one, you're getting a bunch of tight shots and stuff. You want to have a tripod on that for most of those situations. So you really want 2 cameras and 2 tripods. Now again, just do the math on how much it takes to hire people per shoot versus the one-time investment of owning this equipment that grows your gear list for your production company. With the 2 cameras set up, you're gonna cover a lot of ground, and I set that up for a lot of shots. Or what I'll have is like a dedicated Steadicam. I put my Canon EOS R on a motorized gimbal, and that just lives that way. But it depends on the type of shooting that you're doing. But the bottom line is that by having 2 cameras, you're gonna cover a lot more ground and just always double coveraging any shots that you're doing as long as it permits.
So I'm filming on 3 cameras right now. Here's the one going through this part of the paint booth. There's the rear one all the way in the back there. And then I'm going handheld over here.
All right, and tip number 5 is kind of the accumulation of using everything that we've talked about, which is you should organize your gear in the most efficient manner possible. I'm definitely bringing more than most single operators would bring and plan to try and use, but you can pull it off if you hustle. I don't have to bring all this stuff. I could go a lot simpler than this and just use a lot of natural light. This is all me deciding to up the game.
of what I'm doing. So if you have less stuff that you have to keep up with, there are so many mosquitoes out here, it's insane, then it's even easier. And then you gradually build up all the equipment that you have, and then you get better at using all that equipment. I'll turn this on, then run in there, move that camera into the opposite side so that way it's facing out this way, and then run back out to this corner. And each time I open these doors, I have to make sure that they close back, because if they're open for longer than 5 seconds, then it shuts off the paint. And then when he's ready, he's gonna go over to that side of the room, so there'll be about a 1 minute break while the paint clears out again. I'll flip-flop that camera inside, then I'll go stand in there, and I'll turn this guy off completely because it's just kind of a pointless shot filming all the way in that other booth there.
You should practice it.
And if I needed to, and I needed to have like a couple of batteries to take with me, and I need to just pull this out real quick, I can, right? This will just come out as one bag, and then I got my Canon batteries, I got my gold mounts, and I've got my Sony L batteries that work on lights and the Sony camera itself.
In your wagon, lens bag, battery bag, media cards, but what's going in all those little pockets of your lens bag? The Allen wrenches, the filters that you're gonna need. Do you need a different plate to slide onto your tripod than you do for your gimbal system? You know, like have your stuff where you just know exactly where everything is. And the more gear that you get, the harder this gets, but you also get better at it. Having to run all the way back where you loaded in all your equipment back and forth constantly is a huge time suck. Having your stuff in these wagons where you have everything within a few feet of you at all times throughout the shoot, that is so efficient. So even if you have people with you, I've found that the wagons just make everything so efficient. It's great to have a budget where you can bring on additional people, but it depends on the budget for the client and the profit that you need to be making and how much you're focused on building up the gear set that you have for your production company. Knowing how to do every aspect of the production is becoming more and more expected for companies that don't even have video content yet. They don't necessarily have the budget to hire on a full production team, so you need to be able to cover all this ground. You don't want to just be making excuses. And when you turn to the video, it's like, well, I know that the sound, you can barely hear what they're saying here, but you know, I didn't have another person. It's like, you don't have to make that excuse because you've covered your sound with your 3 sound sources and stuff. And I know it takes a little while to build up to this, but the first thing that you should buy out of the gate, don't tell me you can't afford it, is get a wagon. And that's the first thing that is going to save you the most money and be the most help. Out of everything I've mentioned, the wagon might be the pinnacle of filming by yourself successfully and pulling off way more shots, okay? So I hope that those tips help you. Please throw me a like. Subscribing is awesome. I'm trying to share tips on here anytime that I can. I stay very, very busy and have a great shoot out there. And just know, don't cut yourself short on what you think you can do by yourself. Go all the way. Just consider yourself a full production crew and just try and make it feel like there were 5 people on set. That's the mentality that you want to try to have, and just keep practicing. You know, rehearse with your wagon. Try walking around the yard, film some stuff, use the wagon, run into the situations where you're like, oh, right, I need that one thing to do this one thing, because there's all those little teeny pieces that you start building up, and it's just too easy to forget them. So becoming efficient and organized with your pack job and testing it and practicing rigging your stuff up fast so you can hustle. I do recommend trying to be in shape. I mean, the difference between people that I've worked with that are in shape and not in shape and how much we can get done is pretty darn large. Being able to run to go get stuff is a really big difference than just slowly walking. The energy level staying up throughout the day because it's somebody that's taking care of themselves with their nutrition and their fitness level to some degree is night and day to somebody that's just burnt out by the time we hit lunch. You know, it does happen. So if you're a healthy person, you're taking care of yourself, you can hustle, it's fun, you can turn it into a workout, a test. That's what I do. I guess that's just a personal thing. So anyway, all right, take care guys. Catch you on the next one.
Movie Voice.